Guys, before we begin, let me tell you a little bit about me and Roopank sir. I am actually head of corporate affairs, and I take care of faculty as well. And today we are really lucky to have Roopank sir here. Mr. Roopank Chaudhary has been associated with the academy for quite some time. He's a global partner at Aon and serves as the India Chief Commercial Officer and head of the Mumbai office. Uh, Head of the financial institution practice for Aon in India and South Asia as well. He's responsible for key client relationships for Aon and client development for all of Aon's existing solutions, as well as the new products and partnerships. And he sits on the India leadership team as well as the Asia Pacific Rewards leadership team. He also manages all branding and thought leadership activities for Aon and is the lead spokesperson for all of Aon studies, surveys, conferences, and industry partnerships for the media. Uh, Giving you a little bit of insight about, this is what his current role is, but he comes with 21 years of experience in various roles, across the demographics, India, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and he's been quite fundamental in HR transformation and HR setup for a lot of organizations across the board. Uh, Additionally, to end his introduction, it's very important to mention that he's been very keen on spreading his knowledge and giving a lot of talks and making students and the upcoming generation aware of how they can transform better. And he's a visiting faculty at Jamnalal Bajaj Institute of Management Studies as well. And he also serves as a member of the advisory board at Meghnad Desai Academy of Economics, and a lot of such more activities that he's involved in as a giving back to the society for the students. So on that note, Roopank sir, I really thank you for giving your time and agreeing to address our students. Over to you. Over to you.
Sure. Am I audible?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So let's try and make use of the time well. We have less time because of the technical glitch, and I also see we just had around about 10, 11 students who have shown up. So maybe I'll possibly give a very much shorter overview of what I wanted to talk about in terms of the topic, and I'll probably leave more time for Q&A, because with smaller batch or a smaller group, it's easier to address specific questions or issues that may be relevant to the folks who have shown up for the discussion, rather than me trying to talk about lots of things which may be 30,000 feet and may not be relevant to you, right? So let me just give you a broad overview of what's really happening in the employer market, because the topic today is that how do you actually build a successful career or skills in the post-pandemic economy, right? And there are 2-3 things that we need to understand or sort of contextualize. One, what does the post-pandemic economy mean, or what is the future of work? And along with that, what are the kind of needs and demands that employers have today, which will continue in the longer run, which will have a bearing on what sort of skill sets folks like yourself will need as you get out in the economy or get out in the corporate world, right? I mean, it's not a foolproof mechanism to tell you that this is what will work and this is the best thing to do. But given what we are seeing outside, it's not very difficult for us to visualize what the future of work will look like and what sort of skills will be more relevant than the others. Nothing will be cast in stone. The world is changing drastically every minute, and every new day brings in a new challenge or a new defined paradigm. But there'll be some skill sets will be far more relevant and applicable in the next 5 to 6 years. Beyond that, I think it's difficult for anyone to actually judge or predict. And it's important for us to understand what those can be and how those can be built for folks like yourself. Right now, let's take a bit of a quick, backdrop. Right, 2020 obviously was a bit difficult year. It was a year of physical as well as financial disruption, and we all saw the recession. For many of us, it was the second recession because the first one happened in 2009, and I think many companies and many managers were far better prepared than they were in 2009 to weather the storm, which is why I believe that economy like India weathered the storm really well and bounced back far more quickly than many places around, right? If you look at some latest numbers that were researched by my own organization, Aeon, it basically said that almost 90% of the companies believe that business outlook has improved. Now, this is something which was, captured in February. Obviously, things have gone down. There are talks of another recession coming and another slowdown coming. But what we saw in 2020, obviously, we're not going to go that far or that low, right? But broadly, business fundamentals look better. If you look at salary increments, they were pretty high this year. They've been in the range of 10%, which last time happened in 2016. So it's been 5 years since the time we actually had a 10% plus salary number attrition, right? And if you look at the sectors that continue to do really well, they're all sectors which mushroomed or thrived, actually survived and thrived during the pandemic, right? E-commerce, IT, IT-enabled services, professional services, entertainment, gaming, pharma, life sciences. They have boomed. They have done really well. And jobs in these sectors are easier to come by. Salaries in these sectors have gone up. And the kind of demand for talent that these industries have shown after the pandemic has been manifold, and it's not surprising because these sectors obviously did much better as compared to restaurants, QSR, or aviation, hospitality, which suffered big time in the COVID crisis, and now they're bouncing back after a very difficult period. Right now, whenever salaries are very, very high, we also see attrition is very, very high. Attrition at 21% is the highest in 2 decades, which means that people are moving around. There are jobs in the market. If you ask search firms, they say that this has been the best 18 months of their lives in terms of finding mandates and getting people jobs, because there is a lot of mobility happening. You all heard about the Great Resignation, right? The Great Resignation, but in the Indian context is quite different. People are not really moving to take it easy or to leave jobs and sit at home, but some of them are. But majority are moving because there are jobs in the market. There are a lot of offers being rolled out and increments have been given, right? In 2020, the attrition was 12%. In 2021, it was 21%. So you can see the big jump, right? There are jobs in the market and people are moving, right? Which is good news for folks like you and anybody who's entering the market. The Great Resignation has led people to move to more digital and tech jobs. So if you look at the kind of business or job functions which have got impacted by the Great Resignation, these are technology, analytics. These are the places where Great Resignation has impacted and people have got many, many more offers. Lesser so in corporate services, in sales business development, that have not been impacted so much by the Great Resignation, because the mushrooming of jobs is happening because more and more sectors today are employing technology. We are witnessing what we call as a convergence era, where all industries are converging. So tech skills or digital skills are not necessarily restricted to traditional tech companies, tech product or tech services companies. Digital and tech skills are wanted by FMCG companies, by financial services companies, by banks, by life sciences, by telecom companies, by e-commerce companies, even manufacturing companies. Why does Nike call itself a tech company? Why does Amazon call itself a tech company and not an e-commerce company? Why does Paytm call itself a tech company and not a financial service? Simply because their businesses are being driven and are thriving and are growing because of the tech enablement. as long as that keeps happening, the demand for this tech talent, which is now in demand in every sector, not only technology per se, right, is creating a huge demand for this talent, and also leading to the kind of job offer that we are seeing. This war for new age talent has gone through the roof, and it has reached a completely different era. 1 in 4 candidates in the new age sector is basically tech, digital, e-commerce, startups. 1 in 4 candidates in this sector is rejecting offers because they have so many, right? Candidates end up choosing the highest bidder, and it is very common for people to have more than one offer, at least 3-4 offers at any point of time, and rejecting offers and going to a new company in the last month of their notice period. It's as bad as that, right? Companies are doing very different things to manage this war for talent, because it is almost becoming impossible to hold on to talent like this. Let me also say that this euphoria has died down a little bit after the Ukraine war, and the COVID completely not going away, and the fundamental challenge that we are seeing globally in terms of recession and inflation, the impact of which is being felt in India has been felt in startups as well. And PE firms are also not investing as much as they are. Startups are now firing. Having said that, e-commerce, IT, ITES, professional services, pharma, their story still remains very robust. The demand for talent in those sectors and the demand for digital and tech talent still remains very, 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 very high. Now, the question to ask is that what are the kind of skill sets that are in demand today, right? What are the kind of skill sets that are getting far more money than some of the other sectors? See, let's be very, very honest. Some of this is extremely technical, right? And if you are an engineer, demand for engineers has gone through the roof, right? Areas like cloud, full stack, front end, back end are heating up in demand. There's a huge demand. If you look at architecture, there is very sizable market buoyancy and demand for technology and security architects, right? There is also a greater demand in enterprise architecture, mobile and data, right? All of these skills are very critical across. But even outside of technology, data, decision sciences, business intelligence, data analytics are again skill sets which are in huge demand. So jobs like these or skills like these command on an average of almost 30 to 40% premium over what we see in the market. Project management, program management, again, seeing a very, very high demand. Infrastructure and maintenance skill, again, seeing a very, very high demand, right? Now, the fact is that these are all technical skills. If you have digital and technical skills, you will certainly have a much better opportunity to get employed and get better jobs. However, not everybody has those skills. So what is it that you need to do? Now, these are technical skills. Is there anything that we can do behaviorally from a competency perspective which can actually help you get a better job or survive? And here is what I want to talk a little bit about, right? What is the kind of post-pandemic environment we are seeing? These are businesses which are getting disrupted. These are businesses which are not following a set pattern. These are businesses which are very agile in nature. They're changing overnight. These are businesses which want to be recession-proof. These are businesses which want to be able to bounce back and make the most of a crisis and not necessarily buckle down and struggle to survive. Organizations which have really done well are other ones which have redefined their business models during a recession and turned it around completely, right? So if businesses need this, they also need people who can come to the forefront and help them be agile, be recession-proof, transform, be adaptive, and bring disruptive skill sets to the market. As a result, as HR consultants, what do we see as the most important skills, behaviors, experiences that employers look for? The first one is transferability of skills, right? It's important to focus on transferable skills because these will remain relevant and can be built upon as things change. If you stick to one niche skill or one old world skill, you'll not be able to change, right? It is important to see how easily a person can move to a new role or get ready for a challenge within a job as things change. As a result, transferability of skills is very critical to be able to manage stuff like risk of automation and the impact of AI. So what are the 3 or 4 behavioral competencies that today employers look for? The first one is learnability. How much are you able to continuously seek self-improvement is very, very critical, right? The second one is agility. How flexible are you to adapt to changing situations and circumstances? The third one is curiosity, which really means being curious and being open to change and novelty. See, the world is ever changing, and these jobs need people who can meet the pace and adapt and evolve alongside the changes in their environment. Behaviors that support this and allow people to thrive in the new environment are future proof and will help employees understand their future readiness, right? How digitally ready are you also becomes very, very important, because it's all about wanting digital skills. But unless you are willing to understand that something can be done better with digital skills, you will not learn. Today, organizations fail because they hire digital talent, but because they're not ready at the top, the digital mindset, they fail. Research has shown that high scorers in digital readiness in terms of competencies are 22% more likely to be rated high in their advancement potential, 26% more likely to be rated in overall job performance, and 28% more likely to be high in engagement. High scorers in learnability, the ability to constantly learn, right, and challenge status quo, are 36% more likely to be rated high in driving for quality, and 33% more likely to be rated on self-development. So clearly, learnability and digital readiness become extremely important when it comes to what sort of skills that you bring to the table. So having an agile mindset, which is basically learnability, agility, and curiosity, leading change, which really means you are able to champion collaboration and empowerment, and the ability to drive business become extremely, extremely important from a skill set perspective. The other thing that gets added to this is EQ, emotional quotient. How well do you manage under pressure, and how well do you manage changing environments? Add to that something called RQ, which is now being called as resilience quotient, which means how many of you will be able to withstand and weather difficult times, crisis, recessions, and bounce back, which necessarily means resilience, right? So if I were to possibly say that what are the 4 or 5 top areas or skills that you need to focus on when you go out in the world, I would keep agility as number 1. Agility will also mean whether you can work hybrid or not, because many companies are not going to be working hybrid. There are people who have struggled to work with the new norm. You need to be able to learn with different work environments, different business models, which really means work environment means you could be working from anywhere, hybrid, remote, physical, or you could be working with multiple managers, or you could be working with a very flat structure, right? The other one, actually, which is a very important one, is diversity. And diversity doesn't mean diversity of gender. It means diversity of skills. What sort of different skill set do you bring to the table? Do you have 1 or 2 or 3? Because one skill set will get dated very quickly. If you have 3 or 4, you can easily get transferred, right? Diversity of background. Today, companies are encouraging people with different backgrounds because they believe that that diversity can help them become different and think differently. Diversity of thought, right? Which necessarily means that not only like engineers working in a tech company may be passive. You maybe need people who come from arts to understand or bring in a very different perspective, right? Or people who are moving from control and risk functions into sales and vice versa, to give a very different perspective to the whole dimension of working. I already mentioned about EQ. I mentioned about resilience quotient. The last part is managing chaos, because chaos and change is going to be the higher order thing that you will end up seeing on a daily basis as businesses change and businesses evolve. And as a result, what you are able to bring to the table with your ability to manage this chaos and manage this uncertainty, or what we call as a VUCA environment, volatility, uncertainty, and chaos, right, becomes extremely, extremely important. One critical part is that classically we have always said that career paths are, they follow a defined pattern. In the past, we have seen career paths become linear. Most of our parents and people who have been in the workforce much earlier have had the similar sort of job. They work in the same company for the longest time, and they have a progression which is fairly linear. Those days are going away. Both employees as well as employers are now looking forward to a very tangential career path, which necessarily means that you don't work straight. You go like this, which means that you crisscross. You take experience in different functions. So you work in sales, you work in business development, you work in operations, you work in risk, you work in compliance, you work in data analytics, you work in technology, because the diversity of experience that offers you by moving across functions makes you ready to be able to change your role any point of time. So when an organization is going through a restructuring or needs to be far more agile, which means change its business model to suit the environment, as technology changes, how do you react to that and change business models? Somebody who's done different things can also change his style of working. And the reason why today so many people are keen to go to startups or new age companies is because they're able to get that diverse experience, which starts from not only selling, but even managing operations, managing people, managing collection, so on and so forth, which traditional large companies have not been able to give, where you actually grow only in one function. And when you grow in one function, the day that function goes obsolete or is replaced by automation or by technology, right, your ability to find a suitable job becomes that much more difficult. So I think it's very clear that the changes that we are seeing, the more complex skill set that you can learn, they're not replicable, and the more transferable skills that you have, which means that you can transfer across organizations or business lines, and the diversity of thought, process, and experience that you can bring to the table, the better you are. Add to that agility, add to that resilience, add to that managing chaos. And this is what necessarily means, I would not say success, but this necessarily means what will hold you in high demand, or what will make you a highly sought after candidate in a post-pandemic environment, because companies have now learned the lesson and they know what sort of employees they are looking for. Being close-minded or being masterful in only one or two skills, or not having a very open and openness to a digital mindset will be difficult, which really means that if you are a manager who's unwilling to work remotely, who's unwilling to manage a team remotely, who's unwilling to bring in AI or digital technology to manage his work, that is going to be a difficult task for you, because those skill sets are certainly going to be struggling as economies develop and we come to a new normal where technology and digital continue to play a very, very large role in how we see our future of work going forward. What is future of work? Future of work is actually the present. Future of work is how we work. And that future of work comes in how we work in terms of where we work, which means home or office, in a tier 1 city or a tier 2 city or a tier 3 city, right? How we work, which means are we using technology, digital more and more or not, right? How our work is measured, how productive we are, and where our teams are sitting. All that defines the larger future of work. And the sooner we understand this, the better we'll be able to know where we fit into that future of work. So I've sort of given you a quick short brief of what the future of work and the post-pandemic work scenario looks like. And I know we have around about 10 minutes left. So I wanted to just keep it open for Q&A, because that's always is more relevant from what students are trying to understand and get into.
Sure. Guys, please feel free to drop in your questions, or just raise your hands. There is an option for you guys to raise your hands on the side as well. Yeah, I think we have one. Shradesh, I have allowed you to talk. You can either post your question or you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hi, sir. really informative. I did have a question. There are a lot of courses on Udemy, Coursera, and all of these courses, right? And I kind of figured that it won't be just me doing them. There will be a lot of people doing them. So I was kind of thinking, that how about I do a project wherein I mix this sort of skills which I've acquired. Suppose, I'm doing currently Python. I'm doing financial modeling, and I'm going to be also learning at MDAE in the next year. So I was kind of wondering that is it beneficial for me to do projects wherein I showcase my skill by mixing all three, or what I've learned from all these three skill set to kind of show that I've not just done these courses for the sake of them. I've actually created a project by mixing the skills.
So when you say projects where in MDAE or outside MDAE?
Oh, I'm saying project at MDAE only, but my main focus is that I'm sort of using this certification and kind of clubbing all of what I've learned into one project.
So see, so this practical experience is always going to be far better and far more highly sought after than theoretical. Theoretical is important to give you a base, but if you can apply it and through a project or through an internship or through anything which has seen the applicability of what you are doing, it's obviously going to be far more effective than just theory. I would encourage you to say that yes, doing a project within the college is great, but if you can get an internship or you can try and get a project while you work with a corporate or the think tank or with anybody else, which is even getting a little bit more real world, nothing like it.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, I have there's one more question there. Degree versus skills. What's more important? How it will affect my growth if I don't have master's? See, this is this is the $1 million question asked for the longest time. Now, there are a bunch of things, right? 15 years back, everybody wants to be an MBA, everybody wants to be a CA, everybody wants to have a degree, right? My sense is that I think today's skills are getting more important than degrees. If you have the relevant experience and the relevant skill set and the relevant applicability of how you have done things, you can still be in the right place, right? There are many graduates who are getting into startups and running companies, and their qualifications are far more than MBAs, but they're still doing a far better job. Because they either had the intent or the entrepreneurial ability or the skill set to be able to build something. So clearly, when you look at startups, skill sets end up playing a much larger role than degrees. Many IIM MBAs have not been able to achieve what they've been able to do, right? That's one. Two, you can be an MBA, you can be an MBA from even a Harvard. But if you haven't learned the real world skills of how to manage a crisis or resilience or EQ, you can't be a great leader or great manager. Today, many folks from the IIM struggle to become good leaders because they're from IIT and IIM, but they're terrible managers, terrible leaders because they haven't really understood the EQ part. They haven't really understood how to manage people, right? Which doesn't come from degrees. So I honestly say that today, more than degree, it is skill set, it is experience and the competency that I spoke about, which are far more important to keep you in better stead when you go out to the corporate world.
Okay. One question which I really wanted to ask you, Roopank sir, is that most of our students are from eco and finance background. This is for the students who are not actually a part of MDA now and are still on the fence and are contemplating. So you spoke a lot about technology and a lot of analytics. That's where the world is going. Now, how do students who are weak in mathematics and those analytical skills, how do they demonstrate those skills, and what all skills can they work on to make the most out of the situation?
So now that's a very relevant point, because if you look at the boom today, the boom is happening in tech sectors and sectors which employ digital and tech. Now, many are not engineers. I'm not an engineer, and people who don't come with tech experience obviously get left out. But that's a fact. I mean, we have to realize that the pandemic has changed the way we work, and technology has gotten a boost. So people who come with tech skills or cloud skills or architectural skills or enterprise management skills, they will get, I mean, they are getting more money, right? So it's not a bad time to be an engineer, but that's a fact because of how the industry is shaped, right? Having said that, right, when it comes to managing data, when it comes to data sciences or analytics, analytics is not about technology. Analytics is about not even maths. It's about statistics. It's about managing data, right? There are enough courses, and I'm sure there are in MDAE as well, about how to manage data well. See, that is not necessarily a degree. That's a skill. What is data analytics? Data analytics today is how can I manage data well and using the data take a smart decision. That doesn't require a tech degree. All that requires analysis and application of your learning by using data, as against going by gut feel or going just for relationship management. You are using the power of data to actually help companies do something, which could be, so where do you use data for to make decisions? It could be in business analytics teams, it could be in strategy teams, it could be in consulting teams. Each of these three don't require engineers or tech people. You have eco grads and people from the arts who do this, because the only thing that is required here is analytical ability and ability to work with and manage data. So that's something very, 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 very easily doable for non-engineers or non-tech people, and that is as critical today as working on technology. The second part is what I spoke about is the digital readiness part. See, when I become a manager and I, let's say, become a sales manager in a home loan company, right? It doesn't, or maybe I am an area manager in an asset management company. I don't need to know technology. However, my dashboards, my sales process, my incentives, my investment dashboards, or what sort of, or my client portfolio will all be based on tech models or digital models. I have to be comfortable enough to work with digital and technology to be able to make decisions. If I want to just work with pen and paper and my gut, the world is too obsolete for me now, right? So that digital readiness, ability to work with technology is very critical, which many people don't have because they are too scared of working with technology. That's not something you need to be an engineer for. That's only about opening your mind and getting digitally ready and building that competency of being able to change. It is simply just being more adaptive, right? For people today who worked on paper and now work on laptops and now work on emails, it's the same evolution. You are taking decisions now basis AI, algorithms, technology, and data. And you have to be comfortable with that. And that doesn't need to be a degree. That just needs an open mindset.
I think so.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir, for such an insightful session. Sir, I have a question like, what should be the stepping stones for freshers, that is the individuals who are applying throughout the career portals of various companies, like what they need to showcase or show as a proof just for their applications being selected for the further process, for the freshers especially, sir?
So are you saying when you're applying to jobs or when you're applying to colleges?
When I'm applying for jobs through the career portals of various companies as a fresher.
So I think the most important thing, Souvik, there is that you need to be able to understand what are the requirements of that particular company. If you're applying for a marketing company, right, your ability to have worked with stakeholders or understood the market dynamics or consumer behavior is important. If you go to a marketing company and talk about Java or something may not be relevant, right? Or if you're applying to, let's say, a fintech company or a fintech startup, right? Maybe it could be working with data, but most importantly, many companies also look at your experience. For example, in a startup, anything that you might have done as an entrepreneur or entrepreneurial or done something on your own, some initiative will be helpful. So I would say that depending on which company or industry you're applying to, have relevant work experience. That is extremely important. Or bring in diversity of experience, as I spoke about. Tell the company that, by hiring you, they can actually, put you anywhere. You could do sales, marketing, digital analytics, whatever. So your experience or your application or your preparation should bring in the entire diversity of the work life cycle that you can fit in anywhere. So I would probably say those two: either bring in diversity and or the relevance of the function that you are applying for, and then showing how well you can do it.
Yes, sir. I have seen that, like in many companies, there is a process of application tracking system where the applications are being like shortlisted, whether it is being rejected or something is being done. So, like, what to showcase to the companies or the hiring managers so that like our application has the higher chances of being selected for the further process, and also that in our mail ID we don't get a response like thank you so much for applying for this position, but currently we are not moving forward with you, like how to
So,
avoid
okay.
this.
So let's take an example. What sort of company would you like to apply for?
Like for the companies like EY and Deloitte and JP Morgan Stanley and all.
Okay. So if you're applying for JP Morgan will want for you to have a very technical background. So for example, if you're applying for analyst role JP Morgan or in investment banking or research, you need to showcase that you have done enough about financial markets, enough about maybe derivatives, enough about macroeconomics, and hence you will be a good fit for them to start with an analyst or a research associate, right? If you are simply an economics graduate, won't be sufficient, because they will also be looking at MBAs, right? So you need to, for a financial service company, the relevant technical background is very, very critical, right? If you're applying to a EY and a Deloitte, let's say you're applying for the consulting part, what do consulting firms look for? They look for problem solving skills, right? For them, if you have run any case studies, if you have solved any real world problem, if you have worked on real life projects with clients and solved that is going to be the most relevant thing. Because if I am a consulting firm and if I'm looking at hiring you, I want to see how much experience does Souvik have of trying to solve a real world problem. And if you come and tell me that, I have actually worked 4 projects in 4 different companies where I actually did research and used data to come with this recommendation, great. That's what I want you to do. Which is why I'm saying it has to be relevance. That won't be relevant in JP Morgan, but it will be relevant in any consulting firm because they employ data to solve problems. If you can showcase that, they'll obviously want to meet you further.
Yes, sir. Basically, I have done few projects like projects in inflationary trends in India since 1990, and like COVID data analysis around the Karnataka one. And basically, I have done interest rate modeling, also a presentation on interest rate modeling. But then also, like I feel that somewhere down the line when I apply, like my applications gets rejected, and I'm already done masters in economics, and I have also pursued this course in data science and finance from MDAE also. So I don't know like what are the things which are like coming as a hindrance in my pathway and all.
See, it could not necessarily be your own thing, right? Maybe they don't have a requirement, or maybe they're looking for MBAs, right? So the fact that you are competing with MBAs on that front, so maybe they're looking for MBAs. It's not that you don't have the right qualifications, or maybe they were not, they didn't have that requirement at that particular point of time. The other way to look at this is that when you're applying to a EY or a Deloitte, do some research, figure out who's the hiring partner. If you send it to general HR or somebody to them, they will never pick it up. Find out that, okay, EY and Deloitte have 10 practices. They have risk, audit, compliance, HR consulting, strat consulting, tech consulting. Within that, you want to apply, let's say, strat consulting. Who is the hiring partner for strat consulting? And then on LinkedIn, reach out to him, speak to him, ask him that, okay, I am very, very, very keen to work with the EY or Deloitte. What sort of profile would you be looking for? What can I do to further my thing? Networking is as important as sending out your profile. Sometimes many of us forget that first to reach out to the right people, network with them is more important than sending out CVs, even if we are very, very good and very, very credible.
So, sir, you are saying that the referral scheme works well in these cases and all, like
Absolutely. But I always recommend for people to reach out to industry and understand what they're looking for rather than shoot arrows in the dark.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for your insights. Thank you so much, sir.
I think we are almost at the close. It's almost 6:30. To close with that, I just want to ask one question to help students like Sovik. So students who are making these final decisions, which course to take up and what kind of skills to look for. One of the students also asked, what is more important, degree or the skills? So while a student is looking for such courses, what all points they should take care of before making that choice? What all factors should they keep in mind while making that decision that this is going to be productive in my overall long-term career growth?
I think the first thing to see is, that you need to have a 5-year horizon. Beyond that, nobody knows really, right? And we probably know how the world is going to look like in the next 2 to 3 years. It might change, right? I think it's important for us to figure out that everything that we are doing today is going to change over the next 2 to 3 years. So it's not going to be cast in stone. One is, so I would put it in two parts. One is historical, understanding how markets have behaved, how recessions have happened, how crises have happened, and what companies have done is great, because that is going to be useful for companies to build a future-proof way of working, right? The second part is looking at the future of what organizations or the economy will look like, the way of working, how it is going to change. Anything that will help you, sort of align to the future strategy of a company is going to be extremely, extremely helpful. The way I would see it is that things are not linear anymore. So if you're applying to a financial services company, just read, doing a course on financial management, P&L management, and understanding risk is possibly not going to be enough. I would probably say that let's try and understand the mega trends. The mega trends of the next 5 years, for example, could be digital disruption will continue. The way we are working is going to keep changing. Number three, there is going to be far more control and governance on how companies are run, because we are seeing so many companies go belly up. Thirdly, there is going to be far more focus on local than global because of the kind of recession we are seeing globally, right? And number five, I think would be that people will need to work across different skill sets, across different functions. So if I were to just pick those as the five broad HR or employability trends, right? It tells me that my ability to work with data and technology is going to be critical. So whatever courses help me with those two, working with data, technology, digital, are paramount. If there is a course on becoming a good leader in a difficult environment, I have to do that. If there is a course on becoming a better manager with better EQ, I have to do that. If there is a course that tells me how recessions have happened, and I know there should be a course of the 2008 crisis, at least a few years back, right? Understanding how crises work and what you can make and how you can leverage them should be a very important course for someone to take, right? And I would encourage people to take diverse courses. So for example, if you're doing one in finance, do one in economics, do one in data, and do one maybe in, let's say, human behavior. That is giving you the whole chain. What I would say is that if you are just picking up, let's say, all four courses which are on the same topic, right, might be slightly dangerous, because then you are not letting yourself open to any peripheral areas.
Got it. Got it. I think while you were just listing it down, I just thought of the MDA's courses that we offer, and it probably has a very good mix of all of that. So I think this is about time. Roopank sir, thank you so much. Students, whatever queries that you guys have, please feel free to send it to MDAE. We will definitely address them. We will take them to Roopank sir. And Roopank sir, really thank you for joining in this evening. It has been indeed a very insightful session. Some points which our students probably missed out. Students like Sovik and some of the students who got an idea about how important technology is going, and the mega trend point which you had described, the transferability, the agility, and the curiosity. These 3 points, I think a lot of people miss the bigger picture, and rather than that they just focus upon their curriculum, focus upon the exams, and they miss out the point that their ultimate goal has to be a very well charted career plan. And I think that's what became very clear with that session. So thanks a lot for your time. Thanks a lot for all the knowledge, and I hope to have such sessions more often with you.
No, you're more than welcome, and feel free to add me on LinkedIn and ping me there, and follow whatever I write. I write a lot about this stuff. That's my job. A lot of my articles and a lot of my research is based on future of work and the kind of skill set that you will need. So follow me on LinkedIn, or reach out to me on my personal email ID, and go to the institute and let me know if you need any help. I've been working with MDAE for a very long time, and I continue to do so. Hope to do so. So I'm always there for any sort of guidance or mentoring.
Sure.
I'll just come in here. Thank you, Roopank. I think you have rightly pointed, you being the board member of MDAE. I mean, you know that we at MDAE also have a multidisciplinary approach where we teach data courses, we teach Python, we teach R, we teach econometrics and statistics. And I think you will agree with me that, that these are the skill sets which students need today, and we are trying to give them all that is required. So
absolutely.
Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.